Hey, welcome into another episode of Halos in the Infield. I'm your host, Todd Fox. We want to let you know where you can follow us. You can follow us on anywhere where you subscribe to podcast forums, on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, wherever you want to listen to us. Also, check us out on YouTube, like and subscribe to our Halos in the Infield page. But we got a special show for you today, so let's get started. Again, I'm Todd Fox, and our other host of the show is
Fernando Mendez, and we're joined here by two very special guests. We'll let them introduce themselves. Let's start off with Zach's father. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Joaquin Neto, and I'm Zach's dad.
And then I'm Zach Neto, player for the Angels.
Well, for starters, guys, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you guys for the time. It's been a long time coming to make this work out, so I'm happy that you guys are able to join us. Let's start off talking to Joaquin real quick. So tell us a little bit about Zach's upbringing and who was it that introduced him to baseball? Was it you, maybe another family member? Did he find it himself?
Well, he's got when he was born, he had an older brother. He was 8 years old. So as soon as my wife and him was released from the hospital, it was playoff time at the park with my oldest son. So they went directly to the park. So you could basically say that he was born and raised on that field from an early age.
And he just always loved the game. He always took interest in it from like day one.
Well, when he was able to start walking and stuff like that, we were always at the park, and him and one of the other brother siblings on the team, they would take turns hitting off of a tee. One guy would put the ball up and the other one would hit, and then vice versa, and they would do that for hours at a time. So yeah, he loved it. I mean, he never played another sport. It was just baseball 24/7 all year round.
Okay, so when you think about his early playing, formally once he actually started joining a team, like what's the first time that you remember watching him play, and what's the first thing you remember from that game?
He was playing t-ball, and he was a little young, and he wasn't really playing on a team yet, but a team needed a player, and they just put him in the outfield. They asked me if they could just play in the outfield just to have an extra player. And I said, yeah, why not? And so I put him out there, and I could tell that he really liked it. He was very raw, but he really liked it. So some kid hits a fly ball to him out there in the outfield. I closed my eyes saying, oh, God, here we go. Ball always finds a new player. And when he catches the ball in the air at like 4 years old, I was like, okay, all right. That's not a bad start to a career here. And they just took off from there.
Did you come out of
Do you remember that at all, Zach?
I do not. I do not remember that.
Fair enough. What were you going to say, Doug?
I was just going to say, how much did you celebrate on that one, him making that catch?
Man, I'll be honest with you, I was jumping up and down. I was high-fiving everybody around me. I was like super stoked. Like, here's my kid 4 years old catching fly balls already in t-ball. Who would ever thought that was going to happen? So I was pretty happy. I'll admit.
That's cool.
You were bracing for a Sandlot moment where the ball was like going to hit him in the head.
Well, I was, to be honest with you, I was hoping that the ball wouldn't hit him in the head. I would hope he would just stay out of the way, and maybe if he misses the ball, he just wouldn't hit him directly in the forehead. But no, he just put his glove up and he caught it, and it was a good day.
And then that's when the legend was born. So now let's go a little bit to high school. Now, bear with me if some of these numbers are wrong. It's hard to find high school numbers. So you attended Miami Coral Park Senior High School. You had a 407 career batting average in high school, 19 doubles, 6 triples, 2 home runs. You drove in 37 runs. You went 1-0 on the mound with 3 career saves. Kind of accurate? Do you remember it?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay, so what's the number one thing that you remember from your days in high school, and how do you think that led you to getting to the point where you started to get recruited?
Oh man, I just remember I was always that player. Like my dad could tell you, I was always that player where I would come home and I'll be like, yeah, I just played a new position today because we had our coach pretty much was like, hey, we need you in this position. Like, we want to keep your band in lineup. And it's like my dad's told me at a young age, you hit, they'll find a spot for you. So I always hit, and it was just that, man, like, where are we gonna put him? And it was always that every day I'll come home and be like, oh yeah, I was playing left field, or I was playing third, things like that, just a different position every day. And I always remember that, and it's just that would always stick with me because it helped me in college when I was in that versatile spot wherever my coach needed me, I was playing there. And then it just took off from there, on the field or on the mound and things like that. And I mean, it just came easy to me.
Okay, so I guess this question is kind of for both of you. We'll start off with Zach on it. So now let's talk about Campbell. Why? Why did you decide to go to that university? At the time, didn't even have a first round draft pick. I believe their highest was what, 40. Why did you decide to look in that direction?
Yeah, coming out of high school, I didn't really have that many offers. I would probably say I had like two or three really D1 offers, with Campbell being one of them. And I was getting recruited in Florida from like D2s, JUCOs, things like that. But the school that actually sent me interest was Campbell. When I first talked to him, I had never heard of the school before, so that's what kind of like opened my eyes a little bit. And then as I started doing my research on it, things like that, it just kind of it kept opening my eyes. Like, it was like, man, the school is nice, all turf field, all brick buildings, things like that. I was like, man, this is sick. So I remember going to a tournament in Lake Point, and actually had a pretty good tournament where I was hitting and pitching for the first time, and they were there to watch me. And they finally saw me. Coach Hare saw me, and he pretty much told me, "Hey, like, we want to set up a visit with you." And I was like, "Oh man, I've been waiting for this since my first official visit. I've been waiting for this my whole life. It was going into my senior year, and I remember I had a couple trips before that, and like I told it was just me and my dad, and I remember telling him that, like, I didn't I didn't really look forward to anything else but to go to Campbell on Sunday morning, experience that with everybody. And coming out of there, um, I already knew what school I wanted to go to, even though I kind of want to explore my options. Coach Harry didn't let me leave there without an answer. And it's like my dad came back and told me, he said, "Hey, you've been talking about this for the past weeks now. You know what's at the table. You're gonna get a fair shot here. Um, not many people could say they come in as a freshman and get to fight for a starting job." And he said, "You love it here, man. Like, you've been talking about this for a long time now. Like, this is where you belong." And I took a couple seconds to think about it, and I made that decision. I called Coach Hair back in, and I told him I was going to be a fighting camel, and can't wait to get my career started. And from there on, it was just hard work, determination, a lot of adversity I went through, and to end up being the highest pick to ever come out of Campbell. So it's definitely an honor to be that guy. And it's somewhere where I can always call home, whenever I need anything, or wherever I need to go train. I know I could go there any day of the week, anytime, and I'll be able to get my work there and just spend time around the facilities.
How important was it for you to have your father there? Maybe both you guys can answer this one. How important was it for you guys to make that decision together, and him knowing that you have your father's backing and he's going to give you the right direction, and then also knowing that your son's going to follow your direction? I mean, seems like you guys have a really good what do you call it?
Relationship.
Yeah, relationship.
Yeah, it was definitely good to have. My mom couldn't go on that trip, unfortunately, but having my dad there was definitely something cool to have. He's been there my whole life on the baseball side. He's pretty much been my coach my whole life. And just just seeing his eyes open up whenever like the recruiting process started, it was something cool to have. My older brother, he didn't really get to experience it like how I did,
Mhm.
but it was awesome to have, awesome experience, and just making it not about myself, making it about, all right, like I need somewhere that my parents can still come watch me play if I do decide to come here, things like that, because my parents have always been there and they're big supporting fans of me. So that was something that took into consideration. But having him telling me all that before I made the commitment to go there, it was definitely nice to have for sure.
Joaquin, let me ask you this. Did you, so, now you can be a little more honest because, you're so removed from the situation. Zach's been drafted and all that. Did you guys have any level of concern at all about Campbell thinking back to that time? Was it kind of like, this is the best fit for him, but we also have our concerns?
To be honest with you, that weekend that he had his official visit, we had a game plan, and now that he's not there, I'll go ahead and share with you. With no school this weekend, we want to hear what they have to offer, and we're going to go back home. We're going to sit down with mom and your big brother and your sister, and we're going to come to an agreement with the whole family. And obviously, as a father and his mom, we did our research on the school. We knew that they had some academic issues in the past, but when Coach Hare took over the program, he made it a point that he wanted to not only make this a baseball program, but he also wanted this school to be recognized and his players to be recognized as great student athletes as well. And you can tell, we were able to tell by their team grade point average going from that year that he took over, it just keeps on rising every year. For me and my wife, it's very simple. One day in life, you're going to have to hang up your spikes. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do when that day comes? You want to have something to fall back on? Or do you want to just go back and live with mom and dad? Come back and live with mom and dad. Hopefully it's not an option. Hopefully he'll have something to be able to fall back on. And that's why education for us was super important. And so when that weekend came, and like he said, we sat down, we visited 2 other schools before we went to Campbell. And when we sat down with Campbell as being the last school that we visited that weekend, it was an amazing moment for obviously him and myself, because I never went through that. And just to be able to experience it that with him, it was amazing. And like he said, Coach Hare wouldn't let us leave that room without either a yes or a no. And we tried to stick with the game plan with, hey, we got to call mom. And he go, okay, let me step out of the office, call her, and let me know when I can come back in. So I said, all right, fine. So that's exactly what we did. And when we hung up with mom, Zach's mind was pretty much made up. And I go, hey, listen, man, at the end of the day, this is your decision. I don't want you never letting me have that feeling that I came to Campbell because you made me come here. You chose Campbell, you stick it out. This is your decision. But one thing that me and your mom will always be is behind you 100%. And that's what we did. And with the thanks of all the faculty and the best academic advisor that exists, got him going after a slow start, and it was a match made in heaven, to be honest with you. It's a
Well, it sounds like that's a blessing. It worked out with a family all together there helping out, and being a team, and Zach being able to make the decision, but the family's backing. It worked for everybody, and that you don't really hear stories like that. So that's kind of inspirational, and you're looking out for his well-being after baseball too. So that's something that a lot of these athletes, some of them take for advantage or take for granted. because you're just here in the moment. But yeah, it's great to have that long-term outlook.
Well, we've always instilled that in all our kids, and it's reality, isn't it? One day, Father Time is undefeated for a reason, and we do live in the time, but you also have to remember what's coming, in the future, and we have to be ready for that as well.
Absolutely.
So we've spoken a lot already about Coach Justin Hare, and we actually had him on the day after Zach was drafted. So about 10 or 15 minutes after the pick was made, I emailed him, and literally within like 25 minutes, I got an email back, and he was like, "Yep, I'd love to come on and talk." So he came on. He had some really nice things to say about Zach. Obviously, we can't sit here for the 38-minute interview and listen to what it was, but I do have a couple of things I wanted to bring up and maybe just get Zach's reaction to what he thinks about hearing this stuff from his former coach. So he said Zach's a rise to the occasion type of guy. He wants to play with passion and has a bit of an edge. He wants to win and will do whatever he has to do to win championships. And one of the stories that he told, I have two. The first one was as a redshirt freshman, you cracked a bone in your hand, and that was the first weekend of the year, and you were, obviously bummed out about it. Who wouldn't be? But that you were willing to play first base with an injured hand, and your exact words were, "I'm going to be the most athletic first baseman in the nation."
Yes. Yeah, I remember. I remember that. I remember. I had just started pitching at the time. And me and him always had a joke. We were like, well, I mean, if I can't play another position, I might as well be the best first baseman I can be. And then it just went uphill from there. It was one of those where, wherever he needed me, I kind of made a little lie. He has asked me if I ever played first before. I was like, yeah, man, I played first in high school and never played first before. But it's just one of those things you do to practice at that position, learn a position, and then end up playing there. But I ended up handling very well. He said we're gonna have the four best defenders out there, third, second, short, and first. And it was just one of those jokes where every time I got moved from second or third, he's like, "Man, this guy has the best first baseman I've ever seen." So it's just one of those jokes we carry around with each other, just to kind of keep me humble and things like that.
Okay, fair enough. Now, this is one I was really excited to bring up. So this was after a lightning storm delay. You came up, bases loaded, 2 outs. And for some godforsaken reason, you flipped the bird to the unwritten rules and you dropped down to drag bunt. After that, your teammate hit a grand slam. Walk me through the mindset of that.
Oh man. I still remember that today. So we get the rain delay. We know they're going to a different arm, and throughout that time, I was hitting everything. I saw everything like a beach ball, things like that. And I actually got on my phone before the game and we go back to the rain delay, and I think it was either my dad or somebody had texted me, send me something on Instagram, and I watched the video, and it was it's perfect drag bunt, that it was just going down the line, and I'm like, I kind of had the thought of my idea. I'm like, whatever, it was a nice bunt. So we come out, I'm starting to stretch and things like that. I'm hearing the new scouting report on this lefty that we got. And you're talking about some crafty lefty things, and I'm in the box. I'm here thinking like, oh dang, I'm screwed. Like, this guy has 6 different pitches. I don't know which one to go for. And so the biggest thing I learned was that he fell more to the first base side. So whatever. So I was like, I didn't tell nobody nothing. I just told everybody just watch what I'm gonna do right here. And I remember first pitch, he throws me a fastball inside, and I lay down the best bunt that I can down the third base line, beat out the throw. My dad, I think my dad was at that game. He's in the bathroom. He comes back, he sees everybody cheering. He sees me on first base. Next pitch, the guy, our best hitter, comes up, hits a grand slam off the foul pole, and from that time on, it was we're rolling throughout that game. But just that one small play, I mean, I told everybody else like just keep your eyes open, watch what's gonna happen. And it was one of those things. Once I got in the box, I decided, all right, I'm gonna do this.
Can I
So.
give you my perspective from my view?
Absolutely.
After the rain delay, I actually go to the bathroom and I stop by the concession stand. Game hadn't started yet, so I grab me a hot dog, I grab me a Coke, and I hear the umpire call play ball, and I'm walking towards the screen. I forgot that Zach was up to bat, and my wife wasn't with me that day. And we always have a deal. If whoever's at the game, you have to videotape the at bat so we can send it back to either or and his batting
Instructor.
coach. And as soon as I knew I was gonna run late because the pitcher was in the windup, I'm walking fast towards the fence so I could put my hot dog and Coke down, and I'm a baseball coach, and I see his hands separate, and he lays down this bunt, and I go, "What the hell is he doing?" and he was able. It was a perfectly laid down bunt. I didn't get a chance to record it. And I'm just standing there at the fence, like shaking my head, like, man, this kid, how the hell did he? I mean, did Coach Hare make him do that, or did he do that on his own? And then the next batter comes up on the first pitch. He sees Spencer Packard, and he hits it off the foul pole for a grand slam. And I was like, man, if Zach bunted on his own and without permission, he is so lucky he got on base because Coach Hare would have killed him.
Hey, he was super excited to share that story. As soon as he shared, I was like blown away. I was like, "What? That's crazy!" But it definitely had to do with the way he was describing Zach as just a gamer.
Oh yeah.
So let's fast forward now as we start to catch up here to modern day to July of 2022. Which was the parent that was sending you the articles, that was sending you the segments on MLB Network, that was keeping up with your draft stock?
That's Mama Neto.
No, don't let him
Neto.
fool you. Don't let him fool you. It was a little bit of both. More of my mom. But it was a little bit of both. And I try not to see any of that during the season. And I pretty much told them at the beginning of this, before my college season, I told them, look, don't send me nothing about no like mock drafts, things like that. I don't want to see it. I just want to focus on my season. And by that time, the season was already done, and they were both kind of sending me mock drafts, what people had to say about me, things like that. And it's just people's opinions. You can't really do anything about it. But it was very intriguing for sure.
Well, let me ask you this. Did you have an idea in your mind, like, all right, I'm probably going to go around here? Because, you can give me the answer of, oh, well, I just wanted to focus and let things happen. But I mean, we got to be realistic. You had to have an idea in your mind.
Yeah. So I would say I went to the combine the week before, and I kind of felt where I was liked and where I was going to drop to. And I honestly thought come draft night, I thought I was going to go a little earlier. I had some really good talks with the teams before, and the top 10 went through, and I mean, I haven't heard nothing from my agent. I'm at the draft, and I'm just having a good time, experiencing the experience. And the Tigers are on the clock, and I get a call from my agent. I mean, it's loud there. You can't hear nothing. And I'm talking to my agent, and he's like, "Hey, the Tigers are gonna pick this guy." The Angels called me talking about they wanna pick you. And then it was very loud, things like that. But the only thing I heard was, "Hey, the Angels want to pick you right here." I'm like, "Sign me up." And I remember I hung up the phone, and I'm there talking to everybody. I had the biggest poker face out there, like trying not to let the surprise go. And when my agent called me, I had no idea I was going to go to the Angels. Like I hadn't talked to Angels in the fall. I hadn't talked to them all spring. Not even at the combine I talked to them. So it was one of those dark horse teams that were on the radar, were not on the radar, but when their pick came, they took the initiative role. And And once I got my name called, I mean, I started really smiling by the time Manfred was walking up because I knew my name was gonna get called here, and just a burst of excitement that everybody had. Um, having my family there, it was just an unreal moment. And I was glad I was able to be there and put on the jersey, put on the hat, meet the commish, and just experience that in LA.
As a kid growing up, I mean, how many times did you in picture or visualize that happening to you? Like visualize,
Oh,
you being picked by a certain team or just being on the podium and starting your career.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I watched every MLB draft. I watched it as a little kid. High school started coming around. I started getting more into it because senior year came and I got a couple calls my senior year, and then finally having this happen where I get invited to the draft. It was always a dream come true. I always told myself, I always told my dad, like, man, can you imagine being a first round pick or just being at the draft? It's always been a dream, and finally having that dream come true. There was no better feeling. That beats everything that's ever happened in my life. Just being there, getting my name called, to be a professional athlete for the Angels, and just having my family there to experience that. It was awesome.
What was that moment like for you and your family, Joaquin? I mean, all those times where you're up late, trying to obviously, provide for your family and, all the stress that comes with being a parent in general. Just at that moment, you just breathe that sigh of relief and you just look at your wife and you're like, hey, we did it. Like, this was all worth it.
Well, as we were getting information, like he said, looking at all the mock drafts, where he was going and stuff. We spoke to when he decided on his advisor who he was going to go with. My wife jokingly told him, "Hey, don't call me and ask me if I want to go to the draft. If they invite Zach to go to the draft, just tell him yes, and we'll be there." So I was like, honey, the MLB draft is a little bit different from the NFL. They only invite maybe 4 or 5 guys. It's a very small group. So, don't hold your breath that we're going to get invited over there. And when my wife one day received in the mail, she received what we thought was like fan mail addressed to Zach. And she called Zach to see if she could open it up because she wanted to see like what kind of stuff the fans sent him. And when she opened it up and she saw the MLB logo, and it was a card, and when she read the card and it was an actual official invite to go to the draft night, she called me screaming. I thought that something had happened, and then right there and there is when I go, wow, I think this is gonna be a reality. This is gonna come true. And MLB was great by inviting my whole entire family, all 5 of us, and we were all able to spend the weekend there with all the festivities. And like he said, we were all sitting there waiting to hear his name, and we had done our homework. And being honest, now that we're being honest, we did our homework, and we were counting on all the East Coast teams, maybe picking them so we can stay home.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you're in Miami.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
And when the Los Angeles Angels came up and called out his name, I was kind of like breathless for a second, and then when I realized, damn, that's a long flight to go see him in Los Angeles, but I guess I'm gonna have to suck it up. But I was super happy for it to be Los Angeles. They're a great organization, and so far, nothing but great things about the whole entire organization.
I mean, in all fairness, there's definitely, obviously, the goal is just to get into, the major leagues, get into an organization. But in all fairness, I think there's worse places you could play, and there's definitely worse places to visit your child than, at least, at least you're in a place that's also sunny year round.
Correct. Yes.
All right. So as we're wrapping up here, so Zach, you went to Tri-City after signing with the organization. You only played 7 games before you got called up. Now, those 7 days, you did bat 200, but your on-base percentage was still high at 355. Why do you think you got called up to Double A so quickly? Did the organization tell you?
So when I signed, Perry kind of like brought it up saying that I was gonna start in high and possibly end the year in Double A. Even if I wasn't playing, I was just gonna finish the year in Double A. And I had no idea how like the records were going and everything. And when I got to Tri City, Tri City, they weren't doing as hot. And then when I look at Double A just clinched the first half of the season, and I'm like, okay, um, so I played the first couple games in Tri City, and man, I'm first time seeing live pitching again since college had finished, and and I'm like, man, like I'm hitting balls hard, like, I'm not striking out, and they're just not falling. So I was taking my walks, playing pretty good defense, things like that, and I remember we came home from that Vancouver trip, just did the 6 hour bus ride back home. The next day was our off day, and I get a call from our manager at like 6 o'clock at night on our off day, and he calls me. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing tomorrow?" And I'm like, "Oh, nothing. I'm just going to the field and things like that, getting ready to play our next opponent." And he's like, "Nah, you're gonna pack your bags. You're gonna get on a flight early morning, and you're going to Biloxi with the Double A squad." And he was like, "Man, this was probably the quickest stint that I've ever had a player. But there's no better player that I would love for this to happen beside you." And, hearing that from Jack, it was an honor because Jack Howe, like he had a really good career in MLB and things like that, and just hearing that from him, it was awesome to hear. But I mean, it was an even longer day. I had an early flight from Tri City to Seattle, Seattle to Dallas, 2 hour layover, and then from Dallas to Biloxi, where I was able to get there right before the game finished, kind of meet the guys, things like that, and then start the next day. So it was a quick turnaround, things like that. But I was excited to be in Rocket City, excited to put that uniform on. That you could tell the atmosphere was different. And things like that. And just the guys were cool. Bringing in, I was the youngest guy at the time, and just bringing a young guy, first round pick. Um, things like that could have changed. People go, "Oh, look at the first round pick. He's in Double A now." But they actually brought me in very well. They kind of like didn't forget I was the first round pick, but they kind of like it was off to the side, like it was just another teammate that got called up. So I really appreciate all that, and I had a really good weekend, and then they carried over throughout the rest of the season. But I mean, it was an awesome time for sure.
Couple quick things. Yeah, you're right. Jack was a great hitter in his day, so that is a very good compliment right there, coming from a guy with his experience. So that's great that he told you that. But two, how'd you like the vibe down there in Biloxi with the Trash Pandas, and then seeing and being part of that vibe as they made that postseason run, uh, you know, and them treating you the way they did, not the hazing way that you would expect from other teams.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was still something getting used to. My first, not even a first full year in pro ball, and I mean, they treated me like I was a vet. Of course, I was the rookie, but at the same time, I felt like I had been there for years, and it was just all because of how my teammates brought me under the wing, things like that, kind of teaching me a routine, teaching me how things should be, teaching me what shouldn't be done, things like that, and then just enjoying the moment. Rocket City. I mean, when I got to Biloxi, it was packed house. It's a sick place to play at. Just the atmosphere, the mentality to win, and to compete like everybody did in Rocket City, and then of course being part of that run that we made the playoffs, and it just felt normal. Felt like a regular game. It's the same game, just more to it, and the intensity was there, the atmospheres were crazy. The playoffs games, I was leading off the first playoff game ever, so it was cool to have got that first hit to get it out of the way. I mean, there was a lot of things that I experienced when I got to Rocket City, and I mean, I it was on the top of the charts for sure. I was I was I was treated very well by everybody, by organization, by the coaching staff, by the players. It was just something that there was nothing bad to say about it. It was only good things, and I mean that's the only way they do it, and it was awesome.
That's awesome.
Did you, Joaquin, did you guys see him in Tri-City and with the Trash Pandas?
In Tri-City, we they don't televise their home games.
Mm.
Only able to watch him play when they travel to Vancouver.
Okay.
We were not making no plans on flying all the way to the northwest at the
Pacific
time.
Northwest, yeah.
But once he got to Huntsville, Alabama, once they left Biloxi, because they were on the road that week, then he had to bus back to to Huntsville, Alabama. We did make plans with some of our family members. I think we had like 15 or 20 of us all went over there. We spent a whole week with them in Huntsville, Alabama with Trash Pandas. Great time.
Were you able to catch his first home run with the Trash Pandas?
They caught. So I hit my first one in Biloxi, but they were there for my first one in Rocket City.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually have that baseball at home in my man cave.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it's always nice to have, just valuable things like that. You know what I mean? It's obviously a journey to be a parent in general. So those little kind of mementos mean a lot more than I think your kids could ever possibly understand. All right. So last two questions I have. So real quick, going back to AA. So in 30 games, you batted .320, you had non-base percentage of .382, and you had 23 RBIs. What was clicking for you with the Trash Pandas that might not have clicked with Tri-City?
I think it was just more. It was just getting used to pro ball. That was my first time ever playing under a shot pitch clock. Just different rules, just different things to the game now, and it was just kind of getting accustomed to it. I feel like having those 2 weeks in Tri-City, it was definitely good to have under my belt. So when I got to AA, it wasn't like a slap in my face. So by the time I got to AA, I was more accustomed to the game, more accustomed to how fast I need to walk to home plate to get under the timer, things like that. And I mean, I think just being in that winning atmosphere, and things like that just help cool down the like tenseness, things like that. It was just more relaxed, kind of cool, and just be like, man, even if you mess up, like you got another day tomorrow, and things like that. So it was definitely that was the experience, and I think that was the biggest adjustment that I had to make.
It's funny because I do a post game show on our network here, and every night after the Angels game, we talk about stuff that happened in the game, and then also stuff would pop up from the farm. And as you were starting to get really hot down there in Biloxi, and we're hitting the ball, everyone would be like, "Hey, you see what Neto did today? Hey, Neto's hitting this much," and it's like, wow, So it was. We were getting updates from the Trash Pandas themselves, but to hear the fans were jacked about you, they're like, man, this guy's coming through the system fast.
Yeah. It was cool. It was cool. Once I had that first week in Biloxi, I think I went like 9 for 16 or something like that. I looked at because they had the like stats on the scoreboard. I looked up there, I was batting like 5 something, and I was like, oh man, let me take a picture of last one.
Yeah, right.
But it was cool, just being able to get there and have that impact right away. It was definitely something that clicked for me.
Yeah, you got to walk the thin line there of, you have to be able to sit back and appreciate the hard work that you're doing. You got to be able to sit back and think to yourself, you know what, man, I'm hot right now, and that's good. But, you also got to stay humble at the same time.
Exactly.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay. I was just going to remind everybody that, remember from the day that he got drafted to the day that he reported to Tri-City, he had gone maybe about close to a month without seeing live pitching either. So once he got to Tri-City, he just had to get his feet wet again and get going. and I guess Tri-City helped them get going with those 2 weeks of games that he was out there, and once he got going, they when he got to the Trash Pandas, that's where he just kept it rolling.
Yeah, and they probably were realizing that, like Zach said, he was hitting the ball hard. He just was hitting it at people, or it wasn't falling. So, I mean, if you're doing that, they could tell, just need a break here or there, and you're going to break out. And he broke out at the right time.
Exactly. His on base percentage was still high. And also, nobody's talked about the fact that Tri-City is a hitter's nightmare. It's a very pitcher's friendly ballpark out there. Really, that entire league is just really pitcher friendly, and it's almost the complete opposite in AA. And then when you get a AAA, it's just super skewed to help the hitters because of the altitude. So
Yeah, for sure. I have a quick story. I would never forget my first at bat in Tri-City. I thought I hit this ball actually very hard. We're playing at our place, and I mean, I hit this ball in the right center gap. I thought it was way out. Any other place, the ball's way out.
Mhm.
And the fact that the ball didn't even reach the warning track, that guy was still like 10 feet in front of the warning track. I was like, I go in the dugout, and they're like, man, you really got to get one out. You really got to get one to get out of here. And when they said that, I looked at him. I was like, you ain't lying, because I hit that ball with everything I had, and that ball didn't even reach the warning track. So
did they hit you with the weight room chance? Like, weight room.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Before I have my last question, Todd, do you have anything?
No, I'm just enjoying the conversation.
Yeah. So the last question I have, it's the question we ask everyone who comes on the show. So the minor leagues are an absolute grind, and you got a small taste of that. The long travel, the living conditions are not as bad as they used to be now. Same with the meals, not as bad, but they're still not incredible. Why is Zach Neto going to make it to the show?
Oh man. I think I'm gonna make it to the show because that's always been the thing that's been in my mind, getting there and staying there. I want to be that franchise player that my dad and me have always grown up seeing all these contracts, things like that. And I'm like, man, that's gonna be me one day. I'm gonna sign that 10-year contract for this amount of money, and that's gonna be me. I'm not trying to sound selfish, but that's just the person that I want to be.
Man, you're working for it.
I want to be that guy.
The goal.
And nobody's gonna stop me to being that guy. I'll do it. I'm gonna do whatever it takes. I'm a winner. I'd like to compete. I like to do anything I can to just get the win, no matter if I'm having a bad day or I'm not. I'm just trying to be that teammate. And then just moving in the right direction. I'm trying to get through the minor leagues as quick as possible, get to the bigs and stay there, and just help the Angels win. This is a pretty big year for us. Trying to keep Ohtani here, and I wouldn't want to be. I want to be part of that. I want to be part of that team that we make to the playoffs, so we have a nice run, and I'm part of that team that helps Shohei make that decision easier for him to stay here in Anaheim, and things like that. And I just think making it to the show at a young age, it's just a step. It's just a start to a roller coaster, and just staying on that roller coaster as long as possible. That's what I want to be on, and I just want to keep working, and I know it's not going to be easy, and but I'm up for the challenge. Pressure's a privilege, like Coach Harrod, forced into my brain, ever since in college, and I don't take that for granted. I run right to the pressure, and I either get knocked down, but I get right back up, and I try to do it back and over until I get over that hump. So that's why I think I'm gonna get to the show. I'm gonna get there quick, and I'm gonna stay there, and that's why I deserve to be there.
I've heard that question answered probably like 25, 30 times by now, but that one might be the best. That actually got me excited, just hearing you talk about it. Same question for you, Joaquin. Why is your son going to make it to the show?
Because he knows I want to retire early. So,
never mind, Zach. He got a better answer.
No pressure, but no. He's always had a chip on his shoulder ever since he was always a kid. He was always overlooked, and he's overcome that. through his whole entire baseball career. He might not have been the biggest, he might have not been the best, but he always played against the best, and he always played to the best of his ability. His work ethic is very good, and I think that chip on his shoulder, as the years have been going by, it's become instead of a chip, it's a boulder now. Loves to prove people wrong, and he's going to continue to prove people wrong. And for selecting him, and they're going to enjoy the time that Zach Neto is going to be playing for the Angels, because Neto, it's not only his goal, but it's my family's goal. It's everyone's goal to see a championship brought to Los Angeles, and we all want to be a part of that.
And that would be amazing to experience as a whole and as a fan base, because this team, it's we just celebrated the 20-year anniversary, and we'd love to get back there again. So with Neto's, because there's, and one last thing I'll say just real quick is there's 5-tool players, and we believe that your son is a 5-tool player, and and potentially, and what you need too is you need that charisma, you need that chip on your shoulder, like you described he has, because there's the mental aspect of the game is so often overlooked. Whether you get into a slump, how you get out of it, how you stay hot, how you stay humble, how you stay elite, and with that chip on your shoulder. You need a combination of all of that, and to be like well balanced. And it sounds like he is, and that's a great thing to have at this early age.
Yes, we agree, and thank you for that.
Oh, actually, Zach, last split-second question I just came up with, because everyone always brings it up, and you hear it all the time. And Coach Hare brought it up, and he said it's not going anywhere. Real quick, talk about the leg kick. Is it a timing mechanism, or is it for power? It obviously works for you, but you hear it all the time. You've probably heard it your whole life. What's it all about?
Yeah, so it's my timing mechanism. It's just something that instead of a toe tap or anything, I so happen to have the big leg kick. It's who I am. I feel like when people talk about leg kick, they think of my name now, which is awesome because I didn't mean for it to be like that, but as I gotten older, gotten better, things like that. Now it's something like, oh, leg kick, oh, Zach Neto. So it's cool to it's cool to have like that. But yeah, it's just my timing mechanism. I've done it for a long time now, and I plan on keeping it to my rest of my baseball career. So
you got to be a little stubborn in the sense of, like, if it works for you, it works for you. Because that's the thing with baseball. There's so many different ways to play the game. What works for you doesn't work for the next person. That's the thing that makes coaching so difficult in the game of baseball. You have to accommodate everybody. But hey, man, I mean, I don't know if you ever watched Ohtani's highlights when he was in Japan. He had a very aggressive leg kick too, and clearly it worked for him. So
yeah. I remember my first time talking to Show. He was talking to Ipe, and he was like, Ipe comes up to me, he's like, hey, Show wants to say what's up to you, because he came up to me and he was like, hey, where's our first round pick? The one with the big leg kick. And it was cool. It was cool. Like, even the MLB star, like, my teammate MLB stars know who I am because of what I do. And it was awesome. And going back to the question you asked, like, my dad's told me since I started it, and my coach and Justin Harris said it, whatever ain't broken, you don't fix it. So I just kept that in the back of my head, and I mean, it's worked for me. So, and I haven't had any issues with this. So I always think of that saying whenever people tell me, oh, but why are you doing the leg kick? It's not going to work. Well, go watch me play, and then I'll answer your question for you. So.
Well, gentlemen, I really appreciate the time. I appreciate you guys making this work. It was really nice to talk baseball with you guys, and we hope to see you guys out in Anaheim as soon as possible. Todd, do you have anything to say?
No, again, I'd like to reiterate that we appreciate your time. The fans are going to enjoy the interview with you and your father. And we just, again, I'd like to reiterate what he said too. You know, we look forward to seeing you guys in Anaheim and experience the West Coast, and you know, the hot summers here, and the beaches too are going to be welcoming when you come out here. That's for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys for having us on. You know, this is, you know, I can't wait to see you guys are in Anaheim and get there as quick as possible and just and turn this organization around and start winning some ball games and getting back to that old Angels team where we're in the playoffs every year. So I appreciate you guys for having me and my dad on and talking baseball, having some good talks about old memories and experiences, and can't wait to do this again.
Where can the listeners find you?
You could find me on Instagram or Twitter. If you guys want to tag me, I'll repost you guys. But Zach Neto 2 on Instagram, and I think it's Zach Neto 2 on Twitter as well.
Sweet.
All right. On behalf of all of us here at Halos in the Infield, have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.